Hey, good afternoon, scholars and families. I'm posting my third video of the week. I've been getting a lot of phone calls and texts saying, "Hey, Mrs. Bowers, I love this video. It's been really helpful with homework." So I'm happy that it's working out for all of us. All right, so tonight's homework, we're going to continue with adding fractions and simplifying when we need to. Today I threw in a strategy using a rectangular fraction model. I have some students who are visual learners. They like to actually physically see the fractions and how they're changing. So if just writing out the fractions and the equivalent fractions really isn't helping the idea of fractions click, sometimes throwing in a visual there is helpful as well. And I told my students, listen, my job as a teacher is to present different strategies to you, and then it's your job as a student to apply whatever strategies work best for you. All right, so I'm going to begin with an example, 1/4 plus 1/5. Now, we know that immediately these denominators are not the same. We have a denominator of 4 and a denominator of 5. So I made two rectangular fraction models to visually show what 1/4 and 1/5 looks like. And my students know that they need to find the least common multiple so that we can finally add, because we can't add two fractions with different denominators. So we will use the white margin and we will begin to skip count. I have a number of students this week who on their homework, they're saying, "Mrs. Bowers, the only step I can really do confidently is the first step to find the least common multiple. I know how to skip count. But after that point, I'm having a hard time." And I said, listen, I value effort more than I value correct answers. So the effort that you're putting in, just do the steps that you know how to do really well. That way, when I look at your homework, I know what's the next step I can take to help my student in this process. A lot of my students are still just feeling confident enough to do the skip counting, and that's okay. We're going to keep working on this. So when we skip count by fours, we have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. As always, I always tell my scholars, list 4 or 5 multiples to start off with. And then we'll skip count by fives, 5, 10, 15, 20. At this point, my scholars would yell, "Stop, stop, stop." And when I ask them why, they'll say, because we came across our least common multiple. Both of these numbers have a multiple of 20. So when you rewrite these fractions, we already know that our denominator is going to be 20 because our LCM turns into our common denominator. Before I start doing any multiplication work, I'm going to rewrite my rectangular fraction models. So bear with me because this might take me about 30 to 60 seconds. All right, so I'm going to make my new fraction model, making 20 now. So bear with me. Let's do this and this. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. I'm not an artist. I am not Picasso, but this is the best that I can do. All right. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. All right, now I have my fraction models. Okay, now I can make equivalent fractions with my new denominators. My new method is I'm just drawing an arrow from my first fraction to my second fraction, and I'm asking myself, how did I get from 4 to 20? I can use my skip counting list to help me with this if you're not that confident with your mental math skills yet. So 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12, 4 times 4 is 16, 4 times 5 is 20. I multiplied my denominator by 5, so I need to multiply my numerator by 5. 1 times 5 is 5. And then I'm going to shade in my 5 here. Beautiful. All right, next, I'm going to do the same exact work for 1/5. I'm going to compare my 1/5 to my new fraction. I'm going to use my skip counting to help me if mental math, I'm not feeling so confident about it yet. So here I go. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 4 is 20. Since I multiplied my denominator by 4, I'm going to multiply my numerator by 4. So 1 times 4 is 4. Now I can add these two fractions because the denominator is the same. So I know when I add, my denominator will still be 20 and my numerator is going to be 9. But my work is not done yet because now I need to see, can I simplify this fraction? Can I put it in its simplest form? Let me check it out. In order to check for simplest form, we did this the other day on my first video. We list all the factors of the numerator and the denominator. So first I'm going to list my factors of 9. I know 9 times 1 is 9. I know 3 times 3 is 9. That's all the factors for 9. Jumping over to my 20, I know that 20 times 1 is 20. I know 10 times 2 is 20. I know 5 times 4 is 20, and that's all the factors for 20. Next, I'm going to compare my factors for 9 and 20, and I'm going to see what's the greatest common factor that they have, that they share. I see a 1 on this side with my 9s. I see a 1 on this side with my 20s. I don't see a 9 on both sides. I don't see a 3 on both sides. I don't see a 5 on both sides. I don't see a 4 on both sides. I don't see a 2 on both sides. Definitely don't see a 10 or a 20 on both sides. So my greatest common factor is 1. I'm going to divide my numerator and denominator with the greatest common factor, which was just 1. 9 divided by 1 is 9. 20 divided by 1 is 20. So my final answer of 9/20, that is in its simplest form. I can't simplify that any further. So of course, I'm going to box my final answer, and I am done. Scholars, for tonight, you only have 5 of these practice questions, all right? So do your best. Do the steps that you feel confident about. If you only feel confident with skip counting, then do that. And then tomorrow when I see your homework, I can say to myself, okay, they don't need help with skip counting. They need help with equivalent fractions. And that's how I'm going to be able to better help you tomorrow and in the future. All right, guys, well, have a great night, and I will see you tomorrow.